Welcome, everyone, to Covenants and Kingdoms. I am your host, Brad, along with
Nathan. Hey, guys. How y'all doing? Happy New Year.
Baba Noel had to go back.
Yeah,
to
Baba
the North
Noel's.
Pole.
Yeah, he's. Yeah. Baba Noel lives at the South Pole.
Oh, sorry.
He has penguins, not reindeer.
That's fun. Well, Baba Noel's gone.
He's the evil Santa.
So glad to have Nathan back.
Yes. Well, some would not agree with you there, but you got me anyway. So here we go.
We do have a very special episode today, kind of a recap of the season.
Yeah, mostly we spent however many episodes. How many episodes do we have, Matt? 18? 20
episodes.
19 were about Abraham.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and there was a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff. Gobbledygook,
so
some might say.
We got into the weeds and gobbledygook. So anyway, we'll get into more gobbledygook, and today we will again also talk about some of the gobbledygook stuff that we talked about with Abraham. But we're gonna recap, and so when we do our small group stuff and we're talking about the Bible, we do the inductive questions about what do you learn about God, what do you learn about men, how can you put your faith in action, and then what are some important things
to take away.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to kind of do today, mostly to take away, the obey and take away. That's what we're going to mainly focus on. So Brad and I are just going to have a conversation. We're just going to kind of go back through. We're going to read some scripture, go back through some of the main points that I don't want us to forget as we move on to others. Isaac and Jacob and others, and we'll talk about some of these similar concepts. But the Abraham stuff is the foundation of the rest of what happens.
Yeah. So
we had to get that solidly, and I think we got most of it. We probably could go on forever and ever.
Oh,
there's
definitely.
so much.
It's God's word. It's never ending, the depths we could get to. So, but before we get to that, of course, we are always brought to you by Baba Java Coffee, located in the Birmingham area. Roast our own coffees, specialty grade coffees, and with 3 cafes in the area. Please go check us out. You can grab, we have some new coffees from Honduras and a Papua New Guinea coming that are fantastic. I think you guys will enjoy that. And if you go to babajavacoffee.com and put in the code Covenants at checkout, you will get 10% off your order. So everybody needs good coffee.
Yeah, you got to start the new year right. Make that one of your New Year's revolutions.
One that will stick.
Not a revolution, resolution.
A resolution that will stick.
Yes.
That you won't stop in 2 weeks. So
one of my daughter's high school teachers said that he was addicted to coffee.
Oh, wow.
He could never give it up for any reason. And that's what we want for all of you.
We want coffee addicts everywhere.
Yes, because there's lots of bad things to be addicted to. And if you're going to be addicted to something, coffee's not that bad.
Not that bad. Not at all.
So anyway.
All right, so
we started
Abraham.
Avraham.
That's right.
They started in Genesis 11, the Table of Nations, the Tower of Babel story. So in Mesopotamia, Abraham, he came from, or it was Avram at the time, Abram, came from Mesopotamia. That's where his family was. The origin of paganism, all right? The origin of the false god. So we went into lots and lots of stuff about how materialism is not correct. There's spiritual stuff going on in the world. We went basically 2 full episodes, and in every other episode we talked about stuff like that. There's a spiritual world besides our material world. And so some of these forces are on the side of good, and some of these forces on the side of evil. And so we've talked about that a lot, how there were these Elohim, these spiritual beings that were opposed to God's image bearers. Okay? God wanted to reconcile his people to himself. And so he chose out of this hotbed of paganism where it originated in Mesopotamia to call out this dude, Avram. All right? And in Genesis 12, the story starts in Genesis 11, but in Genesis 12, he says, now Yahweh said to Abram, Go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you. Okay, we didn't talk about this too much because basically every book that's ever been written, almost every sermon, a lot of sermons miss the point on some of this stuff. Every seminary course, every religion course that talks about Abraham starts with this lech lecha, go. Okay, so we didn't talk about that too much. But the lech lecha, go. Okay, that's where it started. The Yahweh said to Abram, go, lech lecha, from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you. Mm-hmm. And I will, and we talked about all these I will statements. I will make you a great nation. I will bless you. I will make your name great. You will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and him who dishonors you, I will curse. And in all the families of the earth shall you be blessed. Okay, so these are the blessing statements, these I will statements. We talked about that a lot. All right. Super important to understand. And that's part of the covenant that Yahweh makes with Abram. Okay. So Abram did what in verse 4?
He went.
So lech lecha, the Lord said go, and Abram went.
Yeah.
Number one lesson. If the Lord tells you to do something,
do it.
Obey.
Yeah.
Okay. The first thing to do, main point, don't forget is, well, the first point was there's a spiritual world.
Yep.
Okay. That's outside of our material world. We can't measure it. We can't use a scientific method on it.
People have tried.
They've tried many, many times.
Yep.
But you can't. Okay. It's outside of our material things. Okay. But it exists, and Yahweh is part of that world. He created that world, okay? Number 2, if the Lord says, do something, go, you obey.
You do.
Obey, all right? As the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him, Abram was 75 years old when he departed from Haran, and Abram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their possessions, all that they had gathered, and the people that they had acquired in Haran, and they set out to the land of Canaan. When they came to the land of Canaan, Abram passed through the land to the place at Shechem, to the oak of Moreh. We talked about all those things and the significance of the oak of Moreh and the significance of Shechem. We'll see that over and over again as we get through our stories. At that time, the Canaanites were in the land. Okay, so he took him out of the origin of paganism to a place where the people had migrated from different places. A lot of them Western Semitic peoples. Okay. And these Western Semitic peoples took the paganism, changed it a little bit to make it part of their culture and their society, and it became another hotbed of paganism. Okay, so he took Abram from a place of overt paganism where they don't worship God, they worship these other Elohim. Took him to this place where these other people worship some of the same Elohims and some different Elohims. All right.
Yep.
Okay, this is significant. Verse 7. Then the Lord, in verse 7,
appeared to him.
Okay. So it's not just some voice in your head or something put in your mind. There is a visible appearance, okay, a physical manifestation that he could see with his eyes. Okay? So it's different than just some abstract thing.
Faceless voice, yeah. It's not that.
No, not disembodied. It's not a disembodied voice or telekinesis that puts something in your head.
Yeah.
Right? It's an appearance as a physical manifestation. All right. That's we got to understand that. The Lord appeared. It was a physical, he manifested himself in a way. And we talked about with Moses, the Lord said, man cannot see me and live.
Yeah.
Right? So how can Abram see him? Because he manifested himself. He wanted to be part of his people. He wants to reconcile his people to himself. Okay. And so he manifested himself in a way, it's love, it's grace. He manifested himself in a way where people can experience him and be with him and have conversations with him. All right. Really super important for the rest of all the Bible. Do we understand that? We got to understand. This is step one. The Lord appears. He physically manifests himself in a way where he can have life, have conversations, have a relationship with his people, and they don't die. Okay? So he did that, whatever that means. To your offspring I will give this land. So he built there an altar to the Lord who had appeared to them. From there he moved to the hill country on the east of Bethel and pitched his tent, with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. And there he built an altar to the Lord, and he called upon the name of the Lord. Okay? All right. Another important concept here that we've talked about so many times. The name of the Lord. The name theology. Okay? Yahweh's name, remember we said when he revealed his divine name to Moses, he was saying, I was, I am, I will be. That's what Yahweh means, okay? It combines all those.
You'll remind us again what the three words that are combined there.
Okay, so it's Hayah, Hove, Iye. I was, I am, I will be. Yahweh is a combination of all those things. Hayah, Hove, Iye. I was, I am, I will be. The essence of being, okay? So what he's saying here is, I am that I am. And when we get to Moses, we'll talk about this even more, okay?
Yeah.
When we get to the story of Moses, we'll talk about this. When we get to the burning bush story, we'll talk about this a whole lot. I mean, it'll probably be a whole episode on that. So the being, the essence of who God is. And it has to do with the name theology, all right? And we'll revisit that. But the name, calling upon the name of the Lord is not just
it's not just
saying something.
Exactly.
Okay?
Deeper than that.
It's calling upon the presence of the Lord. And we just saw where he just appeared to him. Okay? So the presence of the Lord is a physical thing with Abram at this point. All right? The Lord has already visited him. Now, it doesn't say anything about him doing that before, like when he was in Mesopotamia, when he was back in Haran, and the Lord told him to Lech Lecha, to go. All right, it doesn't say anything about that, but it does say. But we know he does appear to him here. It's possible he did. It doesn't say, so we can't say that he did. But earlier in this chapter 12, he for sure did. All right.
Yeah.
And then now he's here at Bethel, and he builds an altar, and he calls upon that presence, that physical manifestation. That name is not just words.
Well, what else is interesting is he hasn't told Abram what his name is.
Nope. So how does he know?
Exactly. Because it's more than just a word.
Yeah.
It's
and later we'll see that he does call him Yahweh in these stories. So he does reveal himself at some point to it. Again, anytime we see anytime in the English translation we see the Lord, that's Yahweh.
Yeah.
All right. That's what it is. All right. That's how they translate it, because to our Jewish brothers, they don't say the sacred name.
Yeah.
The holy name. All right. And me saying it is very offensive to them. And I'm sorry, I don't, I'm not trying to offend you, but I have a relationship with him.
Amen.
He wants me to talk to him.
Yeah.
He talked to Abram, and he wanted Abram to talk to him.
Yeah.
So just saying his name, it's like me calling Brad the man. I mean, he is the man, right? For sure.
Wow.
But hey, man, if I called him that all the time, that's a weird relationship. I see Brad almost every day.
Yeah,
and it would be a weird relationship for me to not say Brad sometimes.
Yeah.
When I'm talking to my wife, Wendy, if I don't ever say Wendy, hey woman, Mora, Yamada. I say that all the time when
That'll be a tough
when I
day.
want to goad her a little bit. Right. I'm like, Yamada, woman, do it. Come on, woman. If I just called her Mara all the time, if I just called her woman all the time,
it's not a great relationship.
No. So we use each other's names when we're talking to each other. And Abram used the name of the Lord, and he's calling upon the name of the Lord. My goodness. So this is when you see someone calling upon the name of the Lord, it means several things. One, it means more than just saying his name. Okay, it's calling upon the presence of the Lord. Yep. Number two, it's indicative of a relationship. Okay, it's not just some observance of rituals. Of course. All right, some abstract God that I may or may not find favor with.
Yeah,
whatever. It's a relationship. Okay, that's what it means. All right. Move on. Any more comments about that, Brad?
No, you hammered that home.
Okay. He went to the Negev. And then we skipped a little bit. So Abram goes to, we didn't talk about the Egyptian story too much.
Not much, no. But it's all right.
But there's a lot there. And we didn't talk about Sarah's role too much, except for when we talked about the laughing Isaac and Yitzhak and things like that. We probably should have talked about Sarah more, and maybe later we will when we talk about. We might have an episode about or a series about women in the Bible and their roles. I think that would be great. We'll have some women on to.
Our two wives probably too.
They probably will. Yeah, we've got some people in mind that would have great commentary about that. So when we get to the series about women in the Bible,
yeah,
we'll come up and talk about Sarah more, because Sarah's very, very important. And so we didn't talk about her, but we will. Okay, we wanted to talk about some of these foundational points, but we want to talk about the foundational points of Sarah later. All right. Okay, then Abram and Lot separate. Chapter 13, we didn't talk too much about that, about Lot. We didn't talk a whole lot about Lot, except for when it had to do with the covenant, Abraham's covenant. So let's move on here. Chapter 14. This is a really cool chapter. All right, we talked. What we have 3 episodes, 2 or 3 episodes about this.
Yeah, 3 I think on Melchizedek.
So in the days of, we're going to read some of this. Probably most of it, because I love it. It's so much fun. In the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Ariel, king of Elsar, Shedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of Goim. These kings made war with Bera and all these other guys, okay? And all these joined forces in the valley of Siddim. 12 years they had served King C, but in the 13th year they rebelled. In the 14th year, C and the kings who were with him came and defeated they defeated the Rephaim, the Zuzim, the Emim, and the Horites in their hill country of Seir as far as El Paran on the border of the wilderness. Now, these guys, Rephaim, the Zuzim, the Emim, and the Horites, what are they?
They are giants.
They're giants. Okay, so they're giants.
Yeah.
Okay, the Bible talks about them. We went to all the passages.
We did.
And talked about all the different ways in which the Bible describes them as the descendants of Nephilim. All the Rephaim, they're all the same, descended from the same people. They're giants. They're big people, large. All right. So this guy, King C, and his confederacy, they came and they defeated the giants. All right. So they whipped them. So they're pretty strong militarily.
Yeah.
All right. They conquered land all the way from Mesopotamia. Now, King C's from Mesopotamia, right? King C's from Mesopotamia. And all these other guys, as he went along, most of these guys are from Mesopotamia. They come along between, like where modern day Iraq is and modern day Israel is. We've got Jordan, okay? In Jordan, and some of these places to the west of Jordan, in the western part of Jordan, that's where these giants are, all right? So as they're coming from Mesopotamia, where modern-day Iraq is, okay, they come to the west, and as they're conquering, they conquer in modern-day, where modern-day Jordan is, they conquer these giant tribes, all right? And that's the different names of them, all right? And we read all those passages where we talk about the Rephaim, the Zuzim, and the Emim, and the Horites, all of them. They're classified as giants, descendants of the Nephilim, okay? Then King C, after they just whipped the giants, okay, then they turned back and came to Kadesh and defeated all the country of the Amalekites and the Amorites who were dwelling in Hazor Tamar. Now, in the Bible, we read about the Amalekites and the Amorites all the time. Especially the Amorites.
They're constant enemies of God's people.
They're enemies of the people of the people that God called out, okay, B'nai Israel, all right? And so we'll see those over and over again as we go through our stories. So he whipped the giant tribes, all 4 of the giant tribes that were named. He whipped these enemies of B'nai Israel, okay, ancient enemies, okay? Again, some of these are Western Semitic peoples, all right? Especially Amorites. Most of the time we're talking about Amorites, we're talking about Western Semitic type peoples who were dwelling in Hazazon Tamar. Then the king of Sodom, the king of Gomorrah, the king of Admah, the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, Zoar, went out, and they joined battle in the valley of Siddim against King C and his confederate kings. Okay? The valley of Siddim was full of bitumen pits. And as the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, some fell into them, and the rest fled to the hill country. So the enemy, so again, bitumen pits. That's like oil, right?
Yeah.
It's petroleum-based stuff. So there's
like
these tar pits, these petroleum-based tar pits. And so I guess there were tar pits at that time in this area. So this is what like Western Jordan, Eastern, where Israel would be today. All right, where Sodom, kind of in the southern part, and the extreme eastern part of where Israel is today, where Western Jordan is today. All right. So I guess there were tar pits, and some of them fell into it. That's interesting. They've never found big oil reserves there.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So
yeah,
we don't know. All right. So anyway, so the enemy took all the possessions of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their provisions and went to their way. They also took Lot. Verse 12. They took Lot, the son of Abram's brother. So Lot, as we know, is Abram's nephew. Okay, and that's we skipped kind of the stories about Lot, but we talked about this. Who was dwelling in Sodom and his possessions and went their way. All right. Then one who escaped came and told Abram, the Hebrew, who was living by the, and we talked about how Hebrew, what does that mean? Ivri. It means ones who cross over.
Yeah.
Okay.
Specifically the Jordan River.
Crossing over. The ones who cross over. That's why they're called the Hebrews, because they cross from Mesopotamia over to
explain that
the west.
The Hebrew words behind that, please.
Over.
Okay.
Over Hebrews overin.
Overin.
Yeah.
And it just means one who crosses.
Yeah, crosses over. All right. Abram the Hebrew, who was living by the oaks of Mamre, the Amorite. So Mamre, it's called oaks of Mamre because he was Amari. He was an Amorite. Okay. The brother of Eshcol and of Aner. Okay, they were allies of Abram. So Abram had made friends with some of the Amorite people around there. All right. Some people have speculated that they are giants also. Maybe not. It doesn't say.
Yeah, nobody
but some of the Amorites are and some of them aren't. So we don't know. Anyway, there's all kind of weird, crazy stuff that people talk about.
I agree.
So some of it, the things that are rational, we talk about. The things that there's no way to prove. I mean, it's hard to. I mean, why are you speculating about stuff?
No, we do talk about it. We talk about it on our Patreon.
Yeah, maybe on deeper. If you want to talk about stuff like that, we'll talk about on Deeper Waters. So anyway, when Abram heard that his kinsman had been taken captive, he led forth his trained men born in his house. So 318 people.
Wow.
And went in pursuit as far as Dan. Now Dan is kind of on the northern part. Remember when we divided the land, it's kind of northern part, western Jordan to the north, eastern Israel, kind of the Galilee area in the northern part. Okay, and he divided his forces against them by night. 318 guys. Okay, just think about this. These kings are battle tested. Okay, they're veteran soldiers.
And they just beat hordes of giants.
They just beat 4 tribes of giants.
Yeah.
And all these other peoples.
Yeah.
As they conquered on the way. Okay? And what does Abram do with 318 guys? And he divided, verse 15, he divided his forces against them by night, he and his servants, and defeated them and pursued them to Hobah, north of Damascus. Okay? So again, a little bit further to the east, a little bit further to the north, Damascus. Okay, remember Damascus is the ancient city that's the capital of Syria, right? So Syria is just to the north of the west of north and east of where Israel is today, like the Golan area, and just north of where modern Jordan is, right? Just to the north. Okay. North of Damascus. Then he brought back all their possessions and also brought back his kinsman Lot with their possessions and women and the people. I mean, just a unbelievable story. With 318 guys, he beats these armies, plural, that had just beat the giants. Okay.
I mean, they should have done the movie 300 about this.
I mean, but yeah, all the 300 guys died.
That's right.
Right?
Right.
These guys all won.
Yeah. That's
They
right.
just beat the giants. Okay.
Yeah.
So can Abram and these aren't soldiers.
No, they're
these
not
are just
soldiers.
his
Yeah,
servants.
exactly.
That
It says
work-
they were born in his house, so it's his.
They're just his guys that work on his farm. I mean, they're his farm boys that work on his farm. That's who they are.
I mean, Abraham himself, he's not a soldier either.
No. So these guys they go. I mean, they might have had Mamre, who's a giant. Well, that's what the speculation is.
Yeah.
And some of his guys were. But anyway, there's
Still,
a small group just defeats armies that had just defeated all the giants.
because it said he had to divide his 318. So he had 318, but he had to divide them up to go fight.
You don't just do that, okay?
No.
And we don't talk about this a whole lot, but this is the Lord's hand upon
no
them,
doubt.
causing them to win. The Lord went before them to cause them victory,
Yeah.
okay? Because of the Abrahamic covenant, because the covenant he has with Abram. He will succeed in those things because he has promised that he would, okay?
Amen.
The Lord fought for him. It doesn't say it, but the Lord fought for him. It's
There's no other explanation.
There's no other explanation. There's no physical human explanation. This is a spiritual battle, and Abram and Yahweh's forces won.
Amen.
Right? Okay.
Yep.
That's why it's so cool. All right. We talked about that. Abram blessed by Melchizedek. All right. Now this,
We didn't talk about this at all.
after his return from the defeat of C and his armies, the king of Sodom went to meet him at the valley of Shaveh. That's the king's valley. And Melchizedek. And we had several episodes about righteousness and justice. This word tzedek, Melchizedek. So we talked about how, from lots of different people, but Heiser and others, the origin of Melchizedek and what that means. Well, it means my king,
Yes.
righteousness, or my king is righteous. Melech is king, of course.
Yes, correct.
Melchi is my king. Tzedek is righteous or righteousness. Okay.
Yeah.
In other places in the Bible, we've talked about how it's tzedek or tzedekah. Those are kind of synonymous with righteousness. So anyway, and the author of Hebrews, how he explains this. The author of Hebrews basically
Does an incredible job explaining.
does a great job explaining about Melchizedek throughout several chapters, and he likens Jesus as a more perfect form of Melchizedek. Okay, and we had the debate. In one whole episode, we debated, is Melchizedek just a king? Okay, and then another one we debated, Melchizedek was a physical manifestation of Jesus,
Of Yahweh,
a precursor of Jesus, one of these physical manifestations of Yahweh, where he comes and he's actually a physical king. We don't know. Some people think both ways. Brilliant people think both ways, and we didn't come to a conclusion.
No.
So I go back and forth.
There's definitely, I lean towards, I mean, it could be both in some ways. I mean, he could be a physical person, but just the reverence that, which we'll talk about in a minute, but the reverence that which Abraham gives him, and then the way Hebrews compares him to Jesus, the physical manifestation of God it's up there. I mean, I could see people coming to that conclusion. I could easily see that.
The biggest argument against that, from my perspective, is, and I agree. I go back and forth, like I said. The biggest argument against that, in my opinion, is doesn't talk about him ever again until Psalm 110. He just kind of disappears.
Yep.
So what happens to Salem? What happens to the kingdom? We know that the Jebusites came and conquered it. If that was really God, Yahweh in physical form, he can be the king as long as he wants to. And the Jebusites aren't going to conquer it. It doesn't say anything about what happens. We know that Adoni-Tzedek is the king at some point, this other guy we talked about in the time of the conquest. And we know the Jebusites actually held that city in that area for a long time until David took it back over.
Yeah.
That we don't know exactly what happened to Melchizedek. If he's God, he either just kind of disappears and gives it up on his own accord, but it doesn't say anything about that. So we don't know. Yeah. So we can't just speculate and guess something that doesn't happen.
Of course.
So that's the biggest argument to me, is we don't know anything about what happens to Melchizedek. Yeah. All right. Psalm 110 And then Hebrews in different chapters talks about it. And so they give high reverence to Melchizedek as a kind of a precursor of Christ no matter what. Okay. So, and we talked about, we broke down Psalm 110 in detail. We will later again. We broke down the Hebrews when we get to Hebrews in
2042 probably. 42.
We'll talk about that more. But let's keep going. And he, Melchizedek, blessed him and said, blessed be Abram by God Most High, Elyon, El Elyon, right? Possessor of heaven and earth, and blessed be El Elyon, God Most High, who has delivered your enemies into your hand. And Abram gave him, so Abram tithes to Melchizedek, okay? And the king of Sodom said to Abram, give me the persons, but take the goods for yourself. But Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have lifted up my hand to the Lord, El Elyon, possessor of heaven and earth, that I would not take a thread or a sandal strap or anything that is yours, lest you say, I have made Abram rich. I will not take anything but what the young men that have eaten and the share of the men that have went with me. Okay. So what does that mean?
Which part?
Well, I'm sorry.
Just the Melchizedek part.
So the interaction between Melchizedek, he brought him bread and wine. So, I mean, these things aren't coincidence.
No.
So Melchizedek, a precursor of Jesus at the minimum, okay, because he was both king and priest.
I mean, we can say that because Hebrews
talk about that. Yeah, I mean, he is at a minimum. At a minimum, he's a precursor. He's a type. Remember,
type of
one
Jesus.
of the forms of prophecy is typology.
Yep.
Okay, so at a minimum he's a type of Christ. He's a type of Jesus. Okay, so at a minimum, the author of Hebrews says this explicitly. At a minimum, he's a type where he's both king and priest. Okay, so as priest, he brings out bread and wine. What does that sound like?
The temple.
It sounds like the temple, and it sounds like,
which is interesting because
Pesach, it sounds like the Lord's Supper.
Because none of those things have been established yet.
No, this is the first Lord's Supper.
Is that 100%? That's what it is.
And so it's Abram having Lord's Supper with Melchizedek.
Yep.
In honor of El Elyon, God Most High.
Yeah. As a precursor to the ultimate sacrifice who will come.
Which we read, I mean,
I mean,
we talked about this.
That's not a mic drop moment right there.
It is. So the first communion, with bread and wine that represents this guy Melchizedek, who is a precursor at a minimum, a type of Jesus, is having communion with Abram in honor of El Elyon,
who will come to bring the ultimate sacrifice and communion.
His body represents his broken body. The bread represents his broken body. The wine represents his blood. I mean, it's also indicative of Pesach, Passover. That's why Jesus says that. He points to that. So we're talking about this communion, Pesach, the Pesach celebration, and then, as Jesus pointed out to his disciples, the actual communion, Lord's Supper type. It's awesome. It's not coincidence. It's just awesome. Amazing. That's Melchizedek. All right. And then Melchizedek, he blesses Abram.
Yeah, that's the other really interesting part.
Blessed be Abram. Who else blessed? Just blessed Abram.
Yeah, like 2 chapters ago. Not even 2 chapters ago. Chapter and a half ago. But yeah, the Lord himself. El
Elyon. Yeah. Yahweh. Okay. So Yahweh blessed him, and then now Melchizedek is blessing him. Again, that's an argument that Melchizedek is a type of, is a Christophany.
Yeah.
As they would say. I don't know. I go both ways, but at a minimum, he is a type of Christ.
No doubt.
All right. We talked about this in detail. If you want to know more, go back and listen to the 12 episodes we have done.
We had 3. I think 3 at least.
3 about this chapter. Yeah. So go back and listen to it. We talked about it a lot. We went through all the scriptures. So, okay, chapter 15, super significant. God ratifies his covenant with Abram. All right. After these things, and this is, we get into another theological point. This is such deep theology, people. All right. So we talked about the appearance, the physical manifestation of Yahweh. We talked about the name of Yahweh, name theology, and now we get into word theology. Okay. After these things, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision. Fear not, Abram, I am your shield. Your reward shall be very great. And Abram said, O Lord God, Yahweh Elohim, what will you give me? For I continue childless, and the heir of my house is Eliezer of Damascus. And Abram said, Behold, you have given me no offspring, and a member of my household will be my heir. And behold, the word, that word that just came to him, of the Lord came to him. Okay? It didn't say it was a dream.
No.
Okay?
How does a word physically come to a person?
How does a word physically come to a person? All right? All right, let's read what the word does, and then we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
The word of Yahweh, the Var Yahweh, came to him. This man shall not be your heir. Your very own son shall be your heir. And he brought him out. He brought him outside and said, Look toward heaven and number the stars, if you're able to number them. Then he said to him, So shall your offspring be. And Abram believed the Lord, and he counted it to him as tzedek, righteousness. Okay. So, first of all, the word comes to Abram.
Yeah.
Okay. How does a word come, as you pointed out and we talked about? How does a word come to you? How does a word come to you? And takes you outside. So the word comes to you physically, and then it brings you outside. How does a word do that?
Outside of John 1, there's no explanation for this.
Okay. When we talked about this a lot, the davar, hadavar, the word in Hebrew, and the logos from Greek philosophy, which is what John is talking about in John 1. In the beginning was the word, the logos, and the logos was with God, and the logos was God. He was in the beginning with God, this logos, this word. And through him and by him, everything was created, as John talks about, as Colossians 1 talks about, as Hebrews 1 talks about. Over and over again, we have this scriptural corroboration of this great, deep theological point that this word, whatever that means, that abstract thing, which is not an abstract thing, it's a physical thing. This physical thing that they call the word is talked about here in Genesis 15. It's talked about in John 1. It's talked about in Colossians 1. And they don't say the word, but the creation is by Jesus.
Exactly.
So Colossians 1 and Hebrews 1 identifies this word as Jesus. Okay. So John talks about it. Abram, the author of Genesis 15, talks about it.
And what did the Lord use to create everything?
He spoke.
His word.
His word.
Yep.
Okay.
It's just amazing.
So this word is not just like a word. It's a physical thing. It's much like the name. It's the presence, the essence, but it's physical. It's not just some abstract thing. It's a physical thing, because a word can't come to you and bring you outside and show you stars.
Right.
Can it?
No.
And we talked about some of the apocryphal stuff where that was the story we read when we were talking about Genesis 15, where this word not only was physical, but it brought Abram.
Oh yeah,
he ascended into the highest heaven, and he was so when he's looking at the stars, he's not looking up at the stars. He ascended to the highest heaven, and he's looking down on the stars. Okay, and remember, the stars aren't just stars; they're not just like balls of gas,
right,
with nuclear reactions. To them, they are like the again physical manifestations of Elohim.
Yeah.
They're spiritual beings that were created. Yeah. They represent spiritual beings. Okay, throughout the A&E, we that's what they believe, that these stars are not just, they didn't know anything about nuclear reactions and hydrogen and helium and things like that, but they represented physical, spiritual beings.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so that's what some of the literature, the Apocrypha of Abraham, I think, is what we read.
Yeah, that's right.
And so this word is a physical manifestation of Yahweh in some capacity, and this word is the one, according to John, who created all things, who is God, who is Elyon, and then the author of Paul in Colossians 1, and then the author of Hebrews talks about how this word that created all things was Jesus.
Yep. And not only does that, Hebrews says it created all things, but that everything is sustained
Yeah.
by the word.
Yep.
It upholds, the word upholds the universe.
That's right.
Which is crazy. Piper, one of my favorite things he says about that, he says, if Jesus ceased to speak it into existence, it wouldn't be. Like he's basically like constantly speaking the universe into existence as the word of the Lord. It's awesome to think about that.
We can't comprehend stuff like that.
No,
but
not at all.
It's amazing. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Jesus. Amen. All right. So he tells him, part 2, he tells him that his own heir, his own son would be his heir. Right? Yeah. Not Eliezer of Damascus.
Yep. His
own son would be his heir. So that's another part of the Abrahamic covenant. So we saw part 1, the blessing, okay, in Genesis 12. We saw part 2, the land, Genesis 14. We saw part 3 in Genesis 15, heir. Okay? We'll wrap all those up here later. As he said to him, I am the Lord who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this land to possess. But he said, O Lord God, how am I know that I shall possess it? He said to me, bring a heifer 3 years old, a female goat 3 years old, a ram 3 years old, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he brought him all these and cut them in half and laid each half over against the other. But he did not cut the birds in half. And when the birds of prey came down, Abram drove them away. All right, so this is called cutting the covenant. We talked a whole lot about cutting the covenant.
Yep.
Okay. This is the Lord ratifying his covenant. This is the A&E way of ratifying a covenant with another individual or group or entity or nation or tribe or whatever. In order to ratify a covenant, you cut a covenant with each other. Okay.
Yep.
And we do all these things that they're doing here. They cut the sacrifice in half. As the sun was going down, verse 12, a deep sleep fell over Abram, and behold, a dreadful and great darkness fell upon him. Then the Lord said to Abram, know for certain that your offspring will be sojourners in a land that is not yours, and will be servants there, and they will be afflicted for 400 years. But I will bring judgment on the nation that they serve, Egypt, and afterward they will come out with great possessions. And as for you, you shall go to your fathers in peace. You shall be buried in a good old age, and they shall come back here in the 4th generation, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet complete. Okay? What does it mean by that? The Amorites have to be judged for some reason.
Yeah.
Okay? And we'll talk about that as we go along. What that means. Okay? What their great sin is. And we'll talk about that.
Okay.
This is what people don't understand. And again, we'll talk about this a whole lot. Mean old Old Testament God. He is just horrible.
Just striking people left and right.
I mean, he commits genocide. He wipes out men, women, and children. He doesn't care about those people.
No.
How is such a loveless God be the same guy as related to Jesus? Because he is also a God of judgment.
Yeah.
And there's a reason he has to judge those people. He's judging those people.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Okay?
Well, when people say stuff like that, they're putting human laws and human morality to a non-human deity. I mean, he made everything. It's his. I mean, we can't judge him by the same standard.
We can't judge
ourselves.
the Lord, Yahweh,
Exactly.
who created all things and who has ultimate wisdom and ultimate knowledge of he's omniscient and omnipotent. Then how in the world can we put some mortal person's morality and
I mean, as Paul said, how can the pot say to the clay, why did you do this?
Can't.
Yeah.
And it's even to an exponentially infinitive exponential
Potter.
greater than that. Than just a clay in a pot. I mean, those
exactly.
are pretty close. But we're so far away from God, we can't even imagine.
No.
I mean, he said he was, he is, he will be. That means, all right, I can understand, when we know somebody is, we can understand being in the present.
Yeah.
I can understand being in the future.
Yeah.
I mean, the never end. We think we're never going to die. You know, we live like we're never going to die. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We don't see our actual death. I can't imagine somebody always being.
Right.
That doesn't, my mind can't comprehend that.
No, we can't.
Right?
It's impossible.
So a being that has always existed
Yeah.
He created time. He created space. He created different universes. He created different dimensions. He created ways for spiritual things to get around that we have no earthly idea technologically how they do it, right?
No.
He created all these things. So these great beings, the stars, and all these great things. But yet we're gonna put him on a human standard and judge him by human standards. Come on, man. It's just ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. Yeah.
So anyway, he's going to judge the Amorites for his own justice reasons, and we're going to talk about what those reasons are.
Yeah.
Okay. Verse 17, when the sun had gone down and it was dark, behold, a smoking firepot and a flaming torch passed between these pieces. Okay. A smoking firepot and flaming torch. What does that mean?
Well, it's representative of like the Spirit of the Lord.
Divine. It's divine.
Yeah.
It's the Spirit. Okay. It's Yahweh himself. It's this spiritual entity of Yahweh.
Yeah.
Okay. When you cut a covenant, you both pass through it. But in this instant, what is Abram doing?
He's sleeping.
Dude's snoozing over here. All right.
He is out.
He's in the back room sleeping. Sleeping one off or whatever. Whatever. I mean, he's asleep.
Yeah.
So who ratifies the covenant? Abram doesn't ratify crap, right?
The Lord does it with himself, basically.
The Spirit of the Lord is the one who ratifies the covenant. Basically, he's saying, because what happens when two people pass through cutting the covenant, that means, may this happen to me if I don't fulfill every part of this covenant. And Abram, so both parties are saying, I'm going to be just like these animals cut in two with the blood if I don't ratify and fulfill my part of the covenant.
Yeah.
All right. But guess who only says that?
The Lord.
Who is the one that says he's going to fulfill both sides of the covenant, or this will come upon me? It points to the sacrifice of Jesus.
Yep.
That's what it is. It's the Lord saying, this is going to happen to me because the covenant is not going to be fulfilled.
Yeah. It reminds me of when Jesus was saying, and I can't remember exactly where, but in one of the Gospels where he says, basically, you let your yes be yes, your no be no, but the Lord, when he swears by no one but himself. And this is a similar type of thinking here.
You can't have a covenant with the Lord.
No.
Because you can't fulfill it.
Exactly.
That's what he's saying here.
Yeah.
He's saying, I'm the one that's going to have to fulfill this. Yeah. This is going to have to happen to me because the covenant will not be fulfilled.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying. That's why Abram's in the back snoozing. He can't fulfill it.
No.
He can't.
Yeah.
So Yahweh has to do it himself.
Amen. Love it.
All right.
We didn't even talk about one of the greatest verses in all the Bible, and he believed the Lord and he counted it.
Oh yeah, we
as
just kind of glossed over that, didn't we? Okay, so this relationship, this covenant with him and the Lord, it's not a contract. It's not contractual. Okay. It's not Abram doing this and the Lord doing this, and we'll shake hands on it and whatever. He has a relationship with the Lord, and the Lord's going to do these things because of Abraham's faith in God's grace. Okay, it's the grace that God gives to him, and he gives Abram the faith to believe in that.
Yeah.
So all right. We're going to get into this later about righteousness. We had like 3 episodes about it. So, I mean, my goodness, we're going to talk about it more when we get to the Psalms, or we're going to talk about it more when we get to Isaiah. But this standard of God, there is a standard. Okay, we're gonna talk about later how Abraham fulfilled all the statutes and laws of the Lord. Well, there's no codified law.
No.
So how does he know what these statutes and laws of the Lord is? Because there's a universal righteousness that we must fulfill. That's what the whole reason they're doing this cutting the covenant is.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that. They're cutting a covenant, but there's no law given.
There's no law.
There's
How
no
do you
law.
know
what covenant to keep?
Because it's a universal law that the Lord gives, and the Bible talks about those things. That righteousness of God is fulfilled through his justice. Yeah. Okay? So these twin ideals, and there's so many more things that are wrapped. It's like a snowball. So you have this core of righteousness, and the justice the justice starts wrapping all these things, salvation and love and goodness and all these things. It sounds like the fruits of the Spirit.
Yeah, it does.
There are all these attributes of the Spirit, these things that the Lord wants us to be, are about being righteous, about fulfilling his righteousness that he's given to us, okay? This universal thing that he wants us to be, okay? So why is Melchizedek's name, my God, my King is righteous? Why is his name that? Because that righteousness is who God is.
Yeah.
Okay? So he believes the Lord. This faith through God's grace is how you achieve that righteousness.
Yeah.
You can't just work and do it.
Yeah.
Okay? That's why Yahweh is going through cutting the covenant by himself. Yeah. Abraham can't do it. That's why they're in the same chapter.
And that's why Paul reminds his readers in Romans 4 that this was done before the circumcision.
That's right.
Because there was no work done.
No work. He believed, and that's how he was righteous.
Exactly.
It doesn't have anything to do with the circumcision.
Exactly. Yep.
The circumcision was a way to set himself apart.
Exactly.
That's it. It's just a sign, like it's like baptism. We talked about that.
Yeah.
How Paul talks about he equates baptism with the sign of circumcision because they're basically the same thing.
They're very similar. Yeah.
Okay, and we'll talk about that more in just a few minutes. On that day, verse 18, the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, to your offspring I'll give this land, to the river of Egypt, to the great river, all this land that all these other peoples
all these tribes
possess right now.
Exactly.
Okay? So the three parts of the covenant are fulfilled. From this covenant, which is the Lord's going to fulfill himself because Abram's back snoozing off, right? They cut this covenant, okay? Abram is, I will bless you, all the blessings, things that he promised him. I will give you, your own son will be your heir, and I will give you your people this land. Okay? That's the Abrahamic covenant. Sarah and Hagar, we didn't talk about that. We talked about a little bit about verse 7 when we talked about the angel of the Lord, where Sarah and, where Hagar is out by the spring in the middle of the desert. There's in chapter 16, verse 7, the angel of the Lord found her, Hagar, by a spring of water in the wilderness, the spring on the way to the Shur, and he said, Hagar, servant of Sarai, where have you come from, where you're going? She said, I'm fleeing from my mistress, Sarai. The angel of the Lord said to her, return to your mistress and submit to her. The angel of the Lord also said to her, I will surely multiply your offspring so that they cannot be numbered for multitude. And the angel of the Lord said to her, you're pregnant, you'll bear a son, you'll call his name Ishmael because the Lord heard your affliction. So it's a little bit weird, the grammar here with Ishmael. So it's basically God heard. It's one who's heard of God is what it means. So it's a little bit in English. It's one who has heard of God is kind of what it means. But God heard El. And you think if you see the end of the word that says El, it's God.
Yeah.
Right. If you ever see Yah at the end of a word, it's usually Yahweh.
Wow.
So anyway.
Okay.
Because the Lord has listened to your affliction. He shall be a wild donkey of a man. And anyway, we won't talk about that. Verse 13. So she called the name of the Lord who spoke to her. Okay, so who did it say was speaking to her?
Well, so the angel of the Lord first.
It said the angel of the Lord. The angel of the Lord is the one that's talking to her. And then verse 13, it says, so she called the name of the Lord who spoke to her.
You were a God of seeing.
Well, so if the angel of the Lord was talking to her and she says, she called on that name of the Lord who was speaking to her, what does that mean?
Unless we got two different people.
What does that mean the angel of the Lord is? And we talked about this over and over again. We're going to continue talking because it's
physical manifestation.
Most of the time when it says the angel of the Lord, Melech Yahweh, it's Yahweh physically manifested.
Yeah.
All right. And in this case, most people think that's who it was. So this is the Lord himself who physically manifests himself, visibly appears and talks with Hagar. Again, he wants to have a relationship. He wants to manifest himself in a way to his people so that he can have a relationship with them.
Yeah.
So that's what he's doing here with Hagar. And then verse 13, you are a God of seeing. For she said, truly here I've seen him who looks after me. So she called it Be'er Lahai Roi. My French just came out. Sorry.
Your French just came.
That's not. I didn't just speak Hebrew. Sorry, that was French. Be'er Lahai Roi.
Oh.
Okay. And Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram called his name Ishmael, because the Lord heard.
Mm-hmm.
Abram was 86 years old when, gee whiz, I mean, I'm 51.
I know he lived longer. People lived longer back then, but still.
I mean, I'm 51, and I can't imagine having a baby right now.
Newborn?
Can you imagine having a baby right now?
Not at all.
And much less 35 years in the future? I mean, I can't
right.
even imagine, man. Gee whiz. Gracious. And poor, well, I don't know. We don't know how old Hagar was. I'm sure she was younger. But when Sarah has Yitzhak,
yeah,
she's old. She's 90 years old.
Yeah.
Can you? I mean, my goodness.
It's amazing.
My wife would really laugh if she was 90 and we wanted to have a baby. I mean, talk about laughing. All right. Verse, chapter 17. We talked about this a whole lot, again, because this was about the covenant of circumcision. So Abram was 99 years old, and the Lord appeared to him again, physical manifestation. He wants to appear. He wants to have a relationship with his people. So he manifests himself in a way where he can have a relationship and they don't die. Okay? And said to him, I am God Almighty, El Shaddai, right? Walk before me and be blameless, that I may make my covenant between me and you, and may multiply you greatly. And Abram fell on his face, and God said to him, it's interesting because sometimes it calls him the Lord, and it goes back and forth between the names, the different names. It says, and so he fell on his face, and Elohim said to him, God, Elohim, behold, my covenant is with you, and you shall be the father of multitude of nations. No longer shall your name be called Abram, but you shall be now called Abraham. So not Avram, but Abraham. For I have made you the father of multitude of nations. Okay. Now, what do we say was the significance of that? Why? It doesn't make any sense why you just change some dude's name. Mm-hmm. Because when you cut a covenant, you put part of your name in his name. Yep. So that he puts an extra hey in there, part of Yahweh. Mm. So he puts part of Yahweh in his name.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing.
Yeah. It's amazing.
For I made you the father of a multitude of nations. I will make you exceedingly fruitful. And I'll make you into nations, and the king shall come from you. And I will establish my covenant between me and your offspring after you throughout your generations for an everlasting covenant. Okay? Again, he's just reasserting that same covenant he's already made with them.
And it's the Lord saying everlasting covenant. So, I mean, it's like, that's binding.
Again, that
never ends.
That's the old land grant treaty where the king gives you something. The king grants to his subject something. Yeah. And it's not a, you do this and I'll do this. It's, I'm doing this because you're my subject. Okay. Because Abram, now Abraham, believed and was counted to him as righteousness, he's now his person. Yeah. Okay. He's part of his covenant of righteousness. And his covenant of righteousness is what the Lord is saying he's going to give to him. Okay. And he's going to bless him because of this covenant of righteousness. Okay.
Nice.
All the land of Canaan for an everlasting possession, I will be their God. And God said to Abraham, as for you, you shall keep my covenant, you and your offspring for generations. This is my covenant which you shall keep. Get circumcised, boy.
What translation is that?
That's the Parvin translation. Okay.
Get circumcised, boy.
All right.
Okay.
So he gets circumcised, and we talked about how circumcision is after all the covenants are ratified. Yep. Okay. The covenant's there.
Yep.
So he's given this other covenant where he's saying, this is covenant of holiness. This just shows that you're mine. Yep. It's like a wedding ring. Yep. It's like getting baptized. All right. So in Colossians 2, Paul equates baptism with this covenant of circumcision. And we read that, talked about that.
But just like in the New Testament, the sign of the covenant comes after
After salvation. After the okay, I'm going to start calling it the covenant of righteousness.
Hey, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just love saying that because that's what salvation is.
Yeah, it is.
It's the covenant of righteousness. It's a ratified covenant between you and Yahweh of being his righteous person. That's what it is. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, that's what I'm starting calling.
That's a great way to say it.
All right. And God said to Abram, as for Sarah, your wife, you shall not call her Sarai, but Sarah shall be her name. Sarah.
So again, that ha.
It's a hey. It's a hey on the end.
Yeah.
So it's a hey on the end, and it just is Yahweh putting his part of his name into their names. It's just beautiful. Awesome. I want to be Nathana.
Can we just start doing that?
Yeah.
Brad ha.
Brad ha. Nathana.
Randy ha.
Yeah.
Matthew ha.
Putting part of, but I want the Yud in there.
Oh, okay.
So Nathani.
Oh, okay.
So it's Yud Hey Vav Hey, but there's two Heys. I guess he's just letting us borrow one Hey. I guess it's okay. We'll just do that. All right.
Matthew already has it in it because the Hebrew is Madat Yahu.
There you go. All right.
Oh, okay.
Nathan's just Natan.
Yeah.
So it'd have to be Natana, but usually that's.
It is a Hebrew name, though.
Natan.
Yeah.
But Natanha's not.
No.
But that would make it feminine most of the time if you do that.
Oh, well, yeah, we don't do that.
Because Abraham's, remember, it's in the middle of his name, so I don't know how to do it. I have to figure it out. Some of my people that speak Hebrew better than me, please figure out how my name would be.
Yeah, get us some comments.
Putting a hey in there somewhere. I don't know. All right. Ishmael. No, but Sarah, your wife, shall bear you a son, and shall call his name Isaac. Yitzchak. Remember what that means? He laughed. I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his offspring after him. So the same covenant of righteousness that I have with you, I'm giving it to him. Okay. As for Ishmael, I have heard you. Behold, I have blessed him and will make him fruitful and multiply him greatly. He shall father 12 princes, and I will make him into a great nation. But I will establish my covenant with Isaac, whom Sarah shall bear to you at this time next year. And we talked about how great things can come from our inadequacies. The Lord can use our sin, even in our sinfulness. The Lord can reconcile those and make good things from it. Over and over again in the Bible, we see that all the time. I mean, and this is one of those times.
Thankful that he does that, because
I'd be screwed.
Yeah,
I've been screwed a long time ago.
Yeah, right.
So the Abram and Sarah didn't have faith. So when it says Abraham believed the Lord and it was credited to him as righteousness, that means every second of the day, all the time, for the rest of his life, he always had faith all the time. No.
Because he's human.
He's a person.
Yeah.
He has good, ebbs and flows, and he believes and he doesn't believe. And so overall he believed. Yeah. But sometimes he didn't. Yeah. And sometimes he messed up. Just like with Sarah messed up sometimes with Hagar many times. Yeah. Okay. Oh, well, I'm old. I can't have a baby. Here, take Hagar. That's what God's talking about. Because we try to put God in a box. We try to make God do the things that we think he should do. Yeah. And that's what both Sarah and Abraham's doing, right? Yeah. Everyone's like, oh, okay. You're sure you're okay with this? All right.
But then, of course, Sarah.
Then she relents. Yeah, and she regrets it.
Of course.
But the Lord is using Ishmael in great ways. Yeah. It created the Arab peoples. Exactly. And they are such a great culture.
We love them.
I mean, the Arab culture is just so rich and deep. And, we don't agree with Islam, obviously. But there's
a difference between Arab and...
There's a difference between Arab and Islam. There's an Arab culture before there was Islam, right? So the Arab deep culture is just beautiful. And the people are just great, wonderful, beautiful people. Yeah, it's just great. Yeah. So great things can come from it. Yep. Yeah. And Islam's a separate thing. I said that's a different thing. And we'll have discussions about that in the future.
Oh, yeah, we will.
Okay. All right. Okay, verse 18. And the Lord appeared to him at Oaks of Mamre, and he sat on the door of the tent in the heat of the day. This is really important. He lifted up his eyes and looked to him, and 3 men were standing with him. Okay? So the Lord appeared to him. This is a physical manifestation. And so There's only three men. There's three guys there, right? This is obviously a physical manifestation,
Yeah.
and Yahweh is one of them. This physical manifestation of Yahweh with two of his buddies are with him. Okay, so these are two other Elohim that physically manifest too. So apparently, somehow, in some way, not only can Yahweh physically manifest, but these other angels can physically manifest also. Okay, because it says that they let a little water be brought and wash your feet and rest yourself under the tree. So
You don't wash spirits' feet.
yeah,
Ghosts
they
don't
have
have
feet,
feet. Right.
so they have dust on them and they get
Exactly.
washed. They sit under the tree and rest. I mean, while I bring a morsel of bread that you may refresh yourselves. So they eat bread. Okay, so they said, "Do as you have said," and they did it. Okay, and so Abram prepares food. Verse 9, they said to him, "Where is Sarah?" "She's in the tent," Abram said. "The Lord said, I will surely return to you this time next year, and Sarah will have a son." That's what he already said. He already said he was going to do that. All right. And Sarah was listening at the tent door behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, advanced in years, the way of women, and ceased to be with her. So Sarah laughed, "Ha ha ha! After I'm worn out, and my Lord is old, shall I have pleasure?" The Lord said to Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh and say, I love this. Shall I indeed bear a child, and now that I'm old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the appointed time, I will return to you about this time next year, and Sarah shall have a son." But Sarah denied it. Listen, this is the Lord. People you said it. He heard you.
Yeah.
Just admit it. But it's so funny. We think we can, no, I didn't say that. That's not what I meant. We can argue with the Lord.
Yeah.
Come on, man. I did not laugh, but he said, "No, but you did laugh." Okay. Anyway, then they set out from there. The two men set out from there and looked down towards Sodom, and Abraham went with them and set them on the way. The Lord said, "Shall I hide from Abraham what I'm about to do? Seeing that Abraham will surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth will be blessed through him. For I've chosen him," all right, this is super important, "I've chosen him, Abraham, that he may command his children and his household before him, after him, to keep the way of the Lord by doing righteousness and justice." The covenant of righteousness, that's what this is all about. It's about propagating the covenant of righteousness and justice.
Yep.
That's what this is all about. Okay? So that the Lord may bring Abraham what he has promised him. And the Lord said, "Because this outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and their sins very grave, I will go down to see whether what they have done altogether according to the outcry that's come to me. And if not, I will know." So then they negotiate. Abraham and the Lord negotiate about destroying Sodom.
Yeah.
And he gets them down to 10 people. All right? Guess what? They ain't 10 people, and they ain't 10 righteous people in Sodom. So bye-bye. That's chapter 19. All right, that's it. Chapter 19. They ain't 10 righteous people in Sodom. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
That's it. That's chapter 19.
Getting hammered.
Abraham and Abimelech, we didn't really go through that too much. And then birth of Isaac.
Yep.
Okay. So Isaac is born. Abraham was 100 years old when Isaac was born. Sarah said, "God has made laughter for me. Everyone who hears will laugh over me." Okay, so she's kind of laughing at herself about her laughter and her negotiating, telling God that she didn't laugh. And she said, "Who will have said to Abraham and Sarah would nurse the children? Yet I have borne him a son in his old age." Okay. Then again, okay.
And then, Hagar and Ishmael.
So Isaac, oh, Sarah.
Yeah.
Sarah. Bless your heart. So
She kicks Hagar out.
Isaac was born, and she's weaned. And then she says to Abraham in verse 10, "Cast this slave woman with her son. Cast out the slave woman, for the son of the slave woman shall not be the heir with my son Isaac." And so Abraham casts them out. He sends them to die.
Yep. He wasn't happy about it, but he did it.
Okay. So verse 14, Abraham rose early in the morning and took bread and a skin he gave him some bread and a skin of water. Come on, man. And gave it. He has got at least 318 servants. Just send a few of them to take them somewhere safe. My goodness, dude. These people. So he rose early in the morning and took bread, a skin of water, and gave it to her and sent them away. And she departed and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba. When the water in the skin was gone, and I'm sure it didn't last that long, she put the child under one of the bushes. Then she went out and sat down opposite him a good way off, about the distance of a bow shot, for she said, "I don't want to see him die." And as he sat opposite as she sat opposite him, she lifted up her voice and wept. And God heard the voice of the boy. And the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven and said to her, "What troubles you, Hagar? Fear not, for God has heard the voice of the baby boy where he is. Up, lift up, and hold fast with your hand, for I will make him a great nation." Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water, and she went and filled the skin of water and gave the boy a drink. And God was with the boy, and he grew up. He lived in the wilderness and became an expert with the bow. He lived in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother took a wife for him from the land of Egypt. Okay. Sacrifice of Isaac. Oh, gee whiz. All right. This is just a heart-wrenching story.
Yeah.
And I understand where people come from when they say God and his nature would not demand a sacrifice. But guess what? That's what happened with Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh, he tested Abraham. And Abraham said, "Here I am." That's what you say when the Lord calls, you say, "Here I am," apparently.
Yep.
He said, "Take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains of which I tell you." So he rose up, saddled his donkey, and took 2 of his young men with him and his son Isaac. He cut the wood for the burnt offering and arose and went to the place of which God had told him. On the 3rd day, he lifted up his eyes and saw the place, and Abraham said to his young men, "Stay here with the donkey, and I with the boy will go over there and worship and come again to you." And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it on Isaac his son, so he made Isaac carry it.
Yeah.
And he took in his hand the fire and the knife, so they went off both of them together. And Isaac said to his father, "Abraham, my father." And he said, "Here I am, my son." He said, "Behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering?" Abraham said, "God," again, this is part of the belief, this is the faith. Mm-hmm. "God will provide for himself the lamb for a burnt offering, my son." So they went both of them together. When they came to the place of which God had told him, Abraham built the altar there and laid the wood in order and bound Isaac his son and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. Then Abraham reached out his hand and took the knife to slaughter his son. But the angel of the Lord, we've talked about the angel of the Lord, called to him from heaven. Okay, so the angel of the Lord calls to him from heaven and says, "Abraham, Abraham." And he said, "Here I am." He said, "Do not lay your hand on the boy or do anything to him, for now I know that you fear God, seeing you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me."
Yeah. So he speaks in third and first person.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Verse 13, "And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him was a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered it up to him as a burnt offering instead of his son. So Abraham called the name of that place, "The Lord will provide," as it is said to this day, "On the mount of the Lord it shall be provided." And the angel of the Lord, all right. So let's stop there for a minute, and we'll go in back into the angel of the Lord stuff. The angel of the Lord's talking to him. Mm-hmm. Abraham believes that the Lord himself will provide a lamb for the sacrifice. Okay, notice the difference here. Abraham believes that the Lord will himself provide a lamb for the sacrifice. Okay.
Where does Abraham get that from?
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't know. Did the Lord tell him that? We don't know. I mean,
and where does he get the idea of a lamb?
Yeah, where does he get the idea of the lamb? But then who was in the thicket? It wasn't a lamb.
No.
It was a ram.
Yeah.
It's different, a little bit different. Okay.
It's an adult.
It's an adult. It's adult.
It's adult sheep.
So that's a little different. Okay.
It is a little different.
Because Jesus was the lamb.
Mm-hmm.
He was the lamb Abraham was talking about. This ram was a precursor. It was showing all of us what was going to come.
Mm.
Okay, but you have to have faith. It's a sacrifice of faith.
Yeah.
Okay, so the lamb wasn't good enough for remission of sins, right?
Mm.
Without the shedding blood, there's no remission of sin. This wasn't good enough. The lamb is the one, once and for all, author of Hebrews explains so brilliantly, beautifully,
yeah,
that Jesus himself was that lamb who would be that one time and only time sacrifice for all of sin. Okay.
So God provided the ram because he was basically just saying, this will do for now.
This will do for now, but the lamb is coming later.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I believe.
It makes sense because why else would he provide a different I mean, it's the same animal, just older.
Right.
But,
And so that's what I believe. That's what I think.
no, it's interesting.
It wasn't quite good enough to be the ultimate sacrifice.
Exactly.
Because that one was coming later. That lamb that Abraham was talking about is coming later. Okay.
I like it.
Verse 15, and the angel of the Lord called to Abraham a second time from heaven. So he's still in heaven, and he says, by myself I have sworn, declares the Lord, because you have done this and have not withheld your son, your only son, I will surely bless you, and I will surely multiply your offspring. Again, he affirms this covenant of righteousness. Verse 19, so Abraham returned to the young men, and they arose and went to Beersheba, and Abraham lived in Beersheba. Okay? Sarah dies in chapter 23. Then when Abraham was born, Isaac went. We were in chapter 24. Isaac is of age now, and he sends his servant to go get him Rivkah, right? And Rivkah comes from Abram's house, right? Abraham's family, right? So he marries his cousin, which was okay back then, I guess. I mean,
still happens today.
Yeah, it does. In certain cultures, it does.
Yep.
Roll Tide.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, we when we lived in Oman, a lot of our friends were first, second, third cousins that were married. That's just the way it was.
Walker, sure. All right, let me just a minute here. All right, we read all that story. Okay, then we went so that was the story of Isaac and Rivkah becoming Isaac's wife, his cousin, right? Then we get to chapter 25, and Abraham dies.
Yep.
Okay, and so we talk about all those things. He lived 175 years old,
which is wild. So
and he had more kids.
Yeah,
apparently. We were skipping over the birth of Jacob and Esau because we're going to come back to that and talk about that. That's next. That's what we're going to talk about next. And so, chapter 26, there was a famine in the land, and Isaac went to Abimelech, and the Lord appeared. The Lord appeared to him, Isaac, okay, and said, "Do not go down to Egypt. Dwell in the land which I shall tell you. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with you and will bless you. For to you and your offspring I will give these lands, and will establish the oath that I swore to Abraham your father. I will multiply your offspring as the stars of heaven, and will give to your offspring all these lands, and in your offspring all the nations of the earth shall be blessed." So all the elements of the Abrahamic covenant were propagated to Isaac also. Yeah. So they were given to Isaac also. Because, verse 5, listen, this is... Because Abraham obeyed my voice, okay, and kept my charge, okay, he did, lech lecha, he did it, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws.
What commandments, statutes, and laws?
I mean, there's no codified law that we know of.
Yeah.
There's no codified law until Exodus 20.
Yeah.
So what is he talking about here? So we went through scriptures and we talked about how there's this righteousness that God expects, okay? And this righteousness is to be fulfilled by his people, all right? God is righteousness. Part of his character is righteous and justice, right? But his people that are with him are expected to fulfill this righteousness and justice too, all right? What is it? It's the law that he gives, the natural... It's written righteous law that's written on our heart, that's written in nature. Okay? It's why in all cultures and all societies there are common things that are expected of all cultures and societies throughout all of history. Okay? There are certain things that are common, okay? And people that are outside of those common natural laws are not considered to be, they're savage.
Yeah.
They're not to be considered basically full human cultures. Okay?
Yeah.
That's all of history. It's just a normal thing that we have done because God puts it on our heart. He puts his commandments, statutes, and laws on our heart and all of nature. There's a natural thing that happens. Okay? So we're without excuse. He gives it to us. We have to fulfill these things. We can't. I mean, he's the one that has to pass through the animals. He's the one that has to ratify the covenant by himself. And he did. He's pointing to Jesus eventually.
Amen.
We went through all these instances in the Old Testament where it talks about righteousness and justice, okay? And we're going to continue to do that as we see them, as we come along, because it's a common theme, a common thread throughout all of Scripture. Isaiah is really brilliant with it. We were going to do an episode right now about Isaiah, but we're just going to wait till we get to the prophets and talk about that. And we're going to do it in Psalms. The Psalms is so deep. It's just, I mean, there's 150 of them. So, it's, it's going to take a long time no matter what. But there's just so much there. Yep. It's just so brilliant. So when we get there, we're going to have lots of different ways in which we're going to go through some of the Psalms. And we're not going to go through every one of the Psalms and read every one of them and break them down, because that would take forever. But we will go through some of the common themes and read some of the more important ones. So,
all right. So to tie this all in, you and I, let's talk about like what we said. What did we learn about God? What we learn about man? And how do we put our faith in action?
All right. Bring it. What do we learn about God?
One thing, I mean, I think the overarching theme of Abraham is God desires to be with his people, with his creation. And he will do, because he's sovereign and all-knowing, all-powerful, he will do whatever he has to do that. And if he has to take a pagan out of a pagan world to bring that about, that's what he'll do.
From a pagan from a pagan world into a pagan place. Yeah. And that's what he did.
Yeah. And if he needs to show up personally to make sure it happens, he'll do that too.
Even though, if he shows us all of his glory, and then, again, this is what people don't understand. If God shows us all his glory, we die.
Yeah.
So he manifests himself in a way to be with his people so that we don't die.
Yeah.
Because he wants to be with us. So he takes a little bit less of himself. He's not being fully God
at that moment. Correct.
At that moment, he gives a little bit of himself away so that he can be with us. That's love right there.
Sounds very familiar too.
It does.
Anyway, so what about you?
Yeah, just what you just said about God. He has a plan. He's righteous, and he wants us to fulfill his righteousness. He wants us to live his righteousness, okay? Yeah. And the way that we do that is through his covenant of righteousness. He's the only one that can give us that. Yep. We can't do it. Abram's sleeping. We're sleeping. We screw up. We keep making bad decisions. Even though we believe, we still sin.
Yeah.
We still have shortcomings. We can't live, as Paul so eloquently put it, all have sinned and fallen short of God's glory.
Yeah.
That's his standard of righteousness. Okay.
Well, that's a good segue. So about men, I mean, that's definitely a big one. Even though God chooses a people, we're still sinners, just like Abraham. We still screw up, but thankful that he uses that for his glory. Even.
He made us in the image of himself.
Yeah.
So that we can have a relationship with him. Right?
Yeah.
But our sin and our selfishness and all the things that we fall short in doesn't allow us to fulfill that righteousness that he has for us. Yeah. So his grace through faith is what allows us to have that through what Jesus did, through that lamb that Abraham was talking about.
Amen.
In Genesis 22.
All right, faith in action.
Lech lecha. If he says go,
do it.
Go. If he says take your son, take your son.
Yeah, he'll provide.
If he says cut these animals in half and go to sleep, cut these animals in half and go to sleep. All right? Whatever it takes, just obey.
Obey the Lord.
That's it. Whatever.
And we have his word, and he commands us to do.
If he says some crazy thing, you're 100 years old and you're gonna have a son. Okay. All right, I'll do it. Sure, whatever. Sure. I mean, crazy thing. He told Abraham some crazy things that don't make any sense to humans. It's illogical.
No. I mean, we talked about it when we talked about circumcision, but that act alone is like, what?
You want me to do what?
What? I don't know, Lord. That was
anything but that, please.
Yeah, right.
My gosh. And again, Abraham and all the men in there were, do it to a baby, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't know.
Don't forget.
But you're a grown man and you're doing it with all your men. We're going to get to the story, but remember the story when anyway, just forget that. Cross that out. We'll get to it.
All right, so good review. hey, seriously, put in your comments. We'd love to know how the Lord, what He taught you through Abraham.
He taught us a lot.
Yeah,
so
but
much.
Please comment, let us know. We'd love to interact with that. And Nathan, thanks for joining us.
Oh man, I love it.
Enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time on Covenants and Kingdoms.
Bye guys.